No, not really.
Gonna leave that rust?
Well, no, I'm gonna fix the rust. I'm definitely fixing the rust because I don't want that to come back.
So now you got metal fab to do after this.
A little, I mean, that's a little bad.
He was Danny Koker's right hand for a decade. The man behind every paint job that made Count's Kustoms famous. Then, one season at a time, he started disappearing from the show without any explanation. Fans filled the silence with their own theories, and none of them were kind. To top it all, one incident happened that almost cost him everything. So what really pulled Ryan Evans out of the frame? And was Count's Kustoms even telling the truth about the man who built its reputation? Join us as we reveal what happened to Ryan Evans from Counting Cars. The news nobody expected. Reality TV has a way of changing people quickly. It can turn an ordinary mechanic or painter into a household name almost overnight. Successful shows like Counting Cars have done exactly that, pulling shop workers out of obscurity and putting them in front of millions. Most of the time, that's a good thing. But there's a drawback to it. Once a reality cast member leaves a show, it's really difficult to make a comeback to television. The moment that fame is gone, it's often gone forever. Unlike actors, the cast of reality TV shows cannot reinvent themselves by simply finding other shows to star in. This is exactly why fans of Ryan Evans were really shocked when they started hearing the news that he would no longer be on Counting Cars. His potential disappearance meant that fans might never see him on television again. To make matters worse, Ryan began to appear less on the show. From a certain standpoint, it did seem like he was stepping back. And as is customary with reality TV fans, the moment they heard it, wild theories began to spread about the reasons he would leave the show in the first place. One version claimed Danny Koker wanted to cut ties with him and had fired him outright, allegedly for embarrassing the shop somehow, though nobody spreading the story could actually say what that embarrassment was supposed to be. A darker version claimed Evans had been badly hurt in an accident, injured enough that he physically couldn't appear on camera anymore. What poured gasoline on both theories was silence. The network airing the show refused to say a single thing about Ryan's potential disappearance. It was almost like he didn't exist. Of course, nobody expected the network to put out a press release whenever there was a rumor that one of their stars was leaving their show. However, nobody expected every other cast member to be silent about it either. To understand how bad it would be if he fell, you first have to see how far he had climbed. The show that made him. When Counting Cars first hit the air, it carried the weight of low expectations that come with any spin-off. In this case, a spin-off of Pawn Stars. It's common knowledge that spin-offs rarely outlast the shadow of the original show, so nobody assumed this would be any different. They were wrong. Counting Cars blew past those expectations, built its own devoted audience, and became so popular that most viewers even forgot it was ever a spin-off at all. To them, it felt like its own show from the start. Ryan Evans was part of that crew before the show even existed. He didn't audition for a television role, and he wasn't scouted for one either. He simply applied for a painting job at Count's Kustoms, back when it was just a working shop, not a set with cameras rolling. It was only after the History Channel decided to turn Danny into a television personality that Ryan found himself in front of a camera, and even then, nobody was grooming him for stardom. Ryan understood he was there to do what he did best, paint, not to perform. He was just another name added to the shop's roster with no particular reason to expect a fan base of his own down the line. That's exactly how his first season played out. When the show debuted in 2012, Ryan wasn't part of the main cast, and he wasn't treated like one either. His lone appearance came when a customer wanted a Harley-Davidson painted to match a tattoo. Ryan was immediately called to handle the job, but even then he didn't get a single word of dialogue in the process. He only did the job he had come for, while the others performed for the camera. But things started to change after the Harley-Davidson job. It happened so fast that by season 3, Ryan had earned a permanent spot in the shop's rotation, and he walked away with the show's Employee of the Year title, along with a 1975 Chevrolet Suburban to show for it. By season 4, Ryan Evans had gone from background painter to full cast member. It wasn't because of one defining moment on his part, but because several senior figures on the show left or were pushed out, leaving an opening for him to step into a bigger role. That promotion came with a new perk too, as his face now appeared in the opening credits, right alongside the rest of Danny's crew, for the first time since he'd walked through the shop's doors. Getting in the door was one thing. What came next would test whether he belonged there. Standing out strong. Over the next few seasons, Ryan created the moments that fans still bring up when his name comes up. The first came when he pitched Danny on a technique nobody at the shop had tried before. Danny wanted the chrome on a Cadillac blacked out, and then flipped back to its original finish. But Ryan pushed back on the idea of cutting corners to get there, at least not on a Cadillac. The problem was cost. A full rechrome job would have eaten too much into the profit margin, making the whole flip pointless from a business standpoint. At this point, Ryan told him that he would think of a new way to rechrome the vehicle without spending any more money. The technique he proposed required only a few chemicals and an activator. When the job was finished, the vehicle looked truly incredible, and Danny later flipped it for a lot of money. Another iconic moment for him on the show was when he was inducted into the 2018 Mini Truck Hall of Fame for his contributions as a painter. Most of his fellow cast members congratulated him and were present in person to celebrate the induction with him. One more memorable moment that Ryan had on the show was when he was under immense pressure to produce an impeccable paint job for a 1961 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. Danny had partnered with Matrix Automobile Finishes for the job, and Ryan was mandated to use the latest Matrix paint system for the Cadillac. The Cadillac was being prepared to appear at the SEMA trade show that year, and since Count's Kustoms entries always got in, Ryan was under immense pressure. He had to get it right, or they may not get in this time. At this point, Ryan had become the head painter of the shop, so his reputation was on the line. Ryan got to work with something to prove. The job cost him sleep, several nights of it, and reportedly left him with an injury along the way as the price of being that careful with a car, this important. In the end, none of it was wasted. The finish came together exactly as planned, with the Cadillac's original teal restored, and the result was magnificent enough to justify every sleepless hour that went into it. That wasn't the only moment fans still talk about. There's the episode with rock legend Alice Cooper, one that stuck with viewers ever since it aired. When Alice pulled into Count's Kustoms that day, the shop practically stopped. Here was a genuine larger-than-life rock icon walking through their doors, and the fact that he trusted them with his car felt like a stamp of validation few shops ever get. The vehicle was pretty old, a 1963 Studebaker Avanti. Alice Cooper wanted to replace everything on the car, including its engine, the paint, and all the malfunctioning parts. The rock legend said that he would ordinarily have sold the car, but he recently learned that a Soviet spy was apprehended by the FBI in it, and he didn't want to lose such a valuable piece of history. The car was not an easy fix, but the mechanics managed to do it, and Ryan gave it a stunning fresh coat of paint that left Alice Cooper beaming from ear to ear. Like Danny Koker himself, Ryan Evans does not like speaking about his personal life on television, as he prefers to keep that part of his life private. Sure, he might have appeared with his wife on screen a few times, but aside from that, he's mostly happy to just do his work. But none of that would matter once the numbers stopped adding up. The unexpected scandal. After being on air for 4 years, Counting Cars had already become one of the most popular shows. And with it, Ryan Evans became one of the most recognizable faces in the automotive reality television world. In fact, his work had earned him Airbrush Action Magazine's pick for SEMA's Best. In 2015, he won an award for the custom paint and graphics on a 1973 boat-tail Riviera. That honor placed him among the most respected custom painters in the country. Then, in 2016, Counts Kustoms began noticing some irregularities in their finances. Numbers stopped adding up. Client accounts showed questionable activity, and the shop's bookkeeping, which had been partially handled by a relatively new hire, started raising major red flags. When Danny and his team looked deeper, they found that someone had stolen money from Counts Kustoms, and it wasn't a couple of $100s. The person had siphoned more money than the entire cast was paid per episode. The perpetrator knew exactly what he was doing. He even went as far as forging Danny's signature to make everything look spotless. And when he was done, he covered up his tracks by creating fake records. With time, the IRS stopped receiving the shop's federal tax payments. Sources close to the situation said Danny was furious when he found out. He had built Counts Kustoms on the idea of a family, a team of people who shared his passion and his values, and to whom he had given his trust in the way that family members give their trust to each other. The thought that someone in that family had been abusing that trust methodically wasn't just a money problem. It was a personal betrayal of the kind that leaves scars money cannot heal. The tension following the discovery was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The internet, hungry for drama around a popular reality TV shop, needed a recognizable villain. Ryan Evans was one of the more prominent cast members who had a regular on-screen presence, so his name was one of those that rumors attached themselves to. Deepfake images of Ryan in handcuffs spread rapidly across social media. Fabricated stories claimed he had been arrested or fired. Many fans who had watched him paint cars for nearly a decade suddenly believed he was the one behind the theft. The rumors became so widespread that they threatened to damage both Ryan's reputation and the reputation of the entire shop. As the speculations continued to surface online, viewers assumed that Ryan's relationship with Danny had fallen apart. Suddenly, Ryan's unexplained disappearances on the show made more sense than usual. As expected, the rumor mills went into overdrive, churning out one speculation after another. While some claimed that their relationship remained solid even after Ryan became a suspect, others suggested that it was finally over between them, and the show's ratings reportedly plummeted as a result. By then, everyone had already decided who the villain was. They were wrong. The truth about Ryan Evans. When the truth finally came out, it had absolutely nothing to do with Ryan Evans. The employee responsible was Joseph Frontiera, who had come to the shop through a third-party staffing company called Randstad Professionals. Danny Koker did not know him personally, and this lack of direct vetting would later prove costly. Joseph allegedly siphoned almost $100,000 of company funds for personal expenses. This included a down payment on his own Land Rover Range Rover and personal airline tickets. He also failed to pay the company's taxes on time, which triggered an IRS penalty of approximately $18,000. Investigations later revealed that Frontiera had a prior history of embezzlement with a previous employer in Florida, something the staffing company had apparently not disclosed. When the discrepancies came to light, Counts Kustoms took decisive action. The shop filed a civil lawsuit naming both Joseph Frontiera and Randstad Professionals as defendants. The case dragged on with countersuits and legal motions But Count's Kustoms remained persistent. Eventually, Joseph faced criminal charges in Las Vegas courts, including felony theft, wire fraud, and filing false tax returns. He was sentenced to prison time for his actions. Contrary to the rumors circulating, Ryan Evans was never arrested and had not been accused of any wrongdoing. He didn't even have anything to do with the actual investigation of the activities of Joseph. There was no reporting or evidence to back up the deepfakes. They were manufactured content, produced and disseminated by people who had decided that the story of Ryan Evans's guilt was more entertaining than the fact of his innocence. Ryan Evans didn't bother to say anything to the public. While anyone else might have broken their silence to defend themselves or played into the social media speculation that would have only made it worse, Ryan Evans just kept showing up to work. He kept on painting. He continued to produce the kind of work that had made his name and let the silence say what he apparently felt words could not improve. After the case was resolved, Danny Koker finally decided to break his silence. In a direct interview with journalist Jody Only for Top Speed, Danny addressed the rumors head-on. He called the accusations against Ryan horrible and completely false. He emphasized that he and Ryan had worked together for over 25 years. Danny described Ryan as family and stated there was never any doubt about his integrity. He made it clear that the deepfakes were fabrications and that treating social media content as factual reporting was a choice with real consequences for real people. He explained that Ryan Evans had never stolen from him, that the fraud investigation had never damaged their relationship. Danny said that Ryan continued to work for him even after the fact, and he never considered stopping either. Danny repeatedly warned that fans needed to stop treating everything they found on social media as law. The truth came out, but by then, the show itself was already running out of time. What happened after the show? When Counting Cars aired its final episode in 2021, History Channel decided not to renew it. They offered no explanation. No announcement was made. There was no farewell episode, no cast interview, and no chance for the people who had carried the show for 9 seasons to say a proper goodbye to the audience that had stuck with them for over a decade. It simply stopped, the way most cancellations do when a network's decision comes down to internal math, rather than any real regard for the viewers who'd shown up every week. Ryan Evans was at Count's Kustoms when the show began, and after it ended, he remained there. He kept on painting, and he still did it with the same consistency that had defined his professional life since he was working out of the back of a window tinting shop in Killeen, Texas, with no audience and no guarantee that the work would ever find the recognition it deserved. In the years after the cancellation, his Instagram became the closest thing fans had to a window into what life looked like once the cameras stopped rolling. In early 2024, he posted a video of a black motorcycle finished with striking purple flame detailing, and the caption was as understated as the work itself: all finished and ready to roll out. Not long after, he shared something else: footage of himself actually sketching the flame lines before laying down a single stroke of paint, pulling back the curtain on a process he'd kept private through nearly a decade on television. Then he started posting less, and by 2025, he posted only once. In this era of the internet, people often measure relevance by how often someone shows up online, so the kind of silence Ryan enveloped himself in could either read as a warning sign, or it could just mean he had redirected his attention elsewhere and was no longer interested in performing for an audience. Ryan had never built his career chasing visibility in the first place. His work spoke for itself, loud enough that visibility found it without him needing to ask. If anything, those years on the show made it obvious that the version of Ryan Evans that fans saw on television was only ever a fraction of who he actually was. After watching many hours of Ryan Evans and Danny Koker on television, There was nothing to suggest that Ryan was in trouble with his boss. There was also nothing to substantiate the rumors that Ryan was leaving. In fact, what fans saw was actually the exact opposite. Did Ryan Evans get the recognition he deserved on Counting Cars? And was Danny telling the truth about their relationship? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.